Hi there. Thanks for joining me for another meditation hours. And I want to ask you, how was your weekend? Was it a weekend or was it a strong end? So did you finish the weekend with a strong note and crushed a perfect week, or were you having a difficult week and the weekend was relaxing and helped you to reassess yourself and start the new week afresh? Either way, let me know what are some of the things you're looking forward for in this week, and what were some of the challenges you had in the past week. One of the things which I'm super glad to implement and start doing is the 1-3-5 plan, which I spoke about in the past. And I am super excited that this week was amazing relative to how I spent my last week. In my last week, I missed out on so many action items, whereas this week I've pretty much filled in all the action items except for few, and I guess that always gonna be the case no matter how much you plan ahead. But there will be few circumstances where you might fall short. And if you do, the best thing to do is just brush it off, stand up, and go into the next week with full energy and full focus, and look at every single day individually and try to attain the goal of the day. One of the books which can help you to plan out your entire day is Own Your Day. I think that's what the name of the book is. I should know this, but it's a book from Aubrey Marcus, and it's an amazing read. But I listened it on audiobook, and I must say it's an amazing listen as well, because it was read by Aubrey himself. And own the day, own your life, and optimize blah blah blah. Okay, so I mean the title is super long, but his book is amazing. He touched based on so many different variables within your every single day, and how you can optimize your life and look at life and at one day at a time, instead of planning for, let's just say, a month or 2 months, or creating goals for, let's just say, a month or 2 months, and practically just stressing every single day if you couldn't attain it. But if you look at every single day and make sure that you attain maybe say 3 or 4 action items which you plan to do, that's a successful day. And that was one of the inspiring I would say concept for me to create this daily plan, so to speak. I was pondering on creating 1-3-5 weekly plan for a long period of time, and I'm going to share my this week's plan, how it looks like. So if you notice, I created this structure of every single day and what I want to do ahead of time, and all I need to do is just make sure that I check it or uncheck it if I fail to fulfill it or attain it. And honestly, I feel that it's a good structure to just plan ahead for the entire week what you will be doing every single day, so you don't have to use your willpower every single day to figure out what you're going to do at the end of the day. So let's just say if you want to get into shape, and in order to do that, if you obviously would have to go to gym or some sort of or practice some sort of exercise. So if you can just mark out which day of the week you will be at the gym, that's all you need to do. and that specific day you have to just focus on that individual day. So that's where all the benefits lie. So if you want to hit gym, say on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and if you want to create a program, if you can hire a trainer, that's awesome. But if you cannot, and then want to create your own program, there are good apps for that as well. And you can just focus on that specific day and make sure that you go to gym and do whatever is required, and don't worry about the future or the past. And I feel more comfortable with this structure because it hits a lot of different key elements in my life. So I have a list of things such as open mic, or Aikido, or reading, or writing a journal, or simple stretch like Surya Namaskar, which has like very basic stretch such as pull-up and sit-ups, and that itself create a good regime for every single day. And I plan ahead or write ahead of time where I will be for that specific day. And of course, plan changes as you go into week. Maybe depending on situations, you might have to work a little bit longer, and that might changes the things you planned out for that day, and that's absolutely fine. And that's where you have room for room for skipping any of the action item. But once you outline what you want to do for the entire week, it helps you, or it helps me, I would rather say it helps me to kind of just focus on attaining that, instead of using my willpower to kind of figure out, do I want to go there, or am I going to go there? That's not an option anymore. So if I wrote it down, then I am going there no matter what, unless in some sort of unique situation. But before I get into meditation, I want to just say one quick point, that regardless of how you structure your day and week and longer period of time, definitely at the very least what you could do is check out good information online, because that itself drives you motivation. So if you feel that you don't have structure, there are good awesome examples out there which you can follow, which makes sense to you personally based on your lifestyle. And if you need motivation, there are a lot of different inspiring people. But honestly, I must tell you, it's easier to live your motivational life rather than just feeding on motivational videos or books or whatnot. Unless you go out there, unless you get into the dirt, you would any sort of concept, articles, books will not help. You would have to go there. And the 5 things are, I don't know if I'm going to go into all 5, but some of the key highlight for me this week was listening to good podcasts. And some of the podcasts I listened to was Jordan Harbinger's show. It's a good podcast. You should check it out. And his interview with Malcolm Gladwell on his latest book. And if you haven't heard about Malcolm Gladwell, he is impressive author. After listening to that podcast, I picked up one of his book, Outliers, which you might have heard, and which is actually really old book. But I want to, first start with his older work before I get his newest book, which I'm blanking on right now. I think, the name of his new book is What We Should Know About Talking to Strangers. Yeah, I think, but
identifying.
Okay, I was trying to play it to kind of get the title. The other podcast I was listening to was Joe Rogan show, and he had amazing guests on his show all the time, but I pick and choose which podcast I want to listen to and see what I want to feed. And his very recent episode, which was aired yesterday, was based on UFOs. And if you get a chance to check out my previous video, I went all crazy for like 30-ish minutes or so talking about that. The third thing which I did this week was reading The Outliers, and I'm already 80 pages in, and I must say this is an impressive book. I don't know why I didn't pick that book before, but I'm reading at least one chapter a day to kind of get to the end, and also once I read that book, I can move on to the other work of Malcolm Gladwell. In addition to that, I was also reading articles online, and I'm subscribed to this amazing news article called Morning Brew. It's a very precise, very crisp, witty article which you're gonna if you subscribe, you're gonna get every single day except for Sundays, and it gives you a highlight of what's going on in the world, financially, and mostly financially, and economically, and economics wise, and just give you an overview of where the market is heading, or what are some of the things you should keep an eye on. And the fifth thing which I learned today or this week was just watching and observing other stand-up comedians, and just observing them perform, and that always awes me, because I get to learn something new whenever I see people out there performing, giving all of their best. And of course there are a mixture of different comics, like any other field, and it's inspiring to see some of the people who put in a lot of time and effort throughout the years and build up comfortness, and also the presence on the stage, and it's pretty captive. With that note, I'm gonna start the meditation hour. So I will be meditating using Vipassana technique, which is to focus on breath and body sensations. And I will try to go through my experience so that you can understand what are some of the things I'm focusing on during the technique itself. So when I focus on breath, what are some of the things which I'm observing? And of course you might be observing something else, so just listen to what your body and mind are telling you. So observe the breath, the nature of the breath, and so on, and also at large observe the sensations. So I might go through one round of body scan so that you can get a feeling of what sensations you're looking for throughout the meditation practice. And once I go through that in the beginning, then I will just be quiet and practicing my meditation. And you can see my amazing face, and just see me meditating with my eyes closed. And I must warn you, there might be real good chances that I will doze off because I didn't catch enough sleep. Don't ask me why. And if I did doze off, I still consider that as a meditative practice, because I'm still sitting, and even though my mind is wandering everywhere, I'm still, whenever I come back, whenever I'm aware I'm coming back. So it's debatable, but your reality and dreams are very much alike. Your brain centers in extreme REM sleep activates the similar centers in your brain as your active brain does. So with that being said, I'm gonna get started. Hey Google, set an alarm for an hour from now.
Done. Your alarm set for 1:22 a.m.
I observe that my breath is shallow. I observe the flow of my breath from the moment it touches my nostril and pass through my nostril to my lungs, and from my lungs through my nostrils outside. I observe the temperature of my breath. The air which I'm breathing in is relatively colder than the air I'm breathing out. I'm observing the expansion and contraction of my lungs. I observed that my mind wandered off. And I pulled it back to focus on my breath. I observed that my mind wandered off. I observed that my mind wandered off. observed that my mind wandered off. Now I'm gonna do a body scan and observe the sensations which gonna come up during the scan. I'm gonna body scan from top of my head to tip of my toe. I observe the air touching my hair and top of my head. I'm gonna start observing the area from top of my head all the way to the tip of the toe. Maybe 1 inch at a time. I observe the tension on my head because of the hair, the way it's pulled at the back. I observe the air touching my forehead. I observe that the air is cold enough for my body. I observe that my eyelids are getting a bit heavy. I observed that my mind wandered away. I observed that my mind wandered off. I observed the hair touching on the back of my head. I observed a lot of tension in my neck. I observe the itchy sensation on my chin. I observe the air touching my earlobes on both of my earlobes. I observe these sensations throughout my spinal cord or core. I observe the fat on my torso. I observe the expansion and contraction of my belly. I observe the air touching my entire left arm. I observe that my left arm is touching my left knee. I observe that my forefinger and thumb are touching each other. I observe the itchy sensation on my right arm. I observe the air touching my right palm. I observe that my mind wandered away. I observe the air touching my right arm. I observe that my right hand forefinger and thumb are touching each other. I observe that both my left and right hands are creating this hand gesture where the forefingers and thumb are connected to each other. I observe the fabric of my shorts on my left hip. I observe the weight of my left arm on my left leg. Observe that my left leg is touching my right leg at various points. I observe that my left heel is touching my right leg's hip, and the point of contact seems to have this pressure. I observe that my right hand is touching my right knee, and I observe the weight of my right hand on my right knee. I observe the surface area of the contact between my right arm and my right knee. I observe that my right heel is touching my left leg, and the point of contact has greater pressure, and it feels harder at that point of contact. Now I will do the body scan silently throughout the rest of the meditation session, and I may or may not say out loud whenever my mind wanders. And also I'll be scanning both sides of my body symmetrically, so both legs at the same time, both hands at the same time, and so on. I observe that my mind has wandered away. observed that my mind wandered off. I observed that my mind wandered off. I observed that my mind wandered off. I observed that I was leaning forward, so I corrected my posture. I observed the itchy sensation on my back. I observed that my mind wandered off. I observed that my mind wandered off. I observed that my mind wandered off. Hey Google, stop. Thanks for joining me for this amazing meditation hour. And until next time, stay peaceful and make sure that your week start with a strong end. Thanks. Good night.